Dear viewers, welcome back on special debate organized by NTV Europe on local election. Today we are talking about mayoral election at Tower Hamlets, and we have all mayor candidates from Tower Hamlets, all 7 of them, and we were talking about housing issues. Mr. Hugo, you started about you mentioned about few of the big cats, big corporations, those who are gaining more access to housing planning, and they are getting more houses. Rather it should be affordable to everyone. There should be more people should have access to that particular service. So what's your point?
I agree. I mean, the thing is, it's the big companies, the big corporations, the big developers who are moving into parts of the borough now to develop luxury housing. They're not interested in developing affordable housing. And I think as a council, if I was mayor, we'd have to say that's got to stop. Those regeneration projects have to stop, and we have to say...
Do you think that those regeneration projects driving the local community out?
They're completely driving the local people out. We've got a crisis now developing in our schools because there are a lot of empty school places because local people are being driven out of this borough. We can't have that. We need local people who need to be rehoused back in this borough. And Wara said about we need to negotiate with the government. We can go and have a softly with the government. Well, look what happened to Northamptonshire Council. You know, they've ended up bankrupt, and they're run by the same party that runs our government. Yes, we've got to negotiate. We've got to negotiate from a position of strength. We need to have a campaign in this borough, and I pledge that with trade unionists, with tenants, we'll build that campaign to demand the housing that we need in this borough.
Bringing the whole community together.
We need the whole community together.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kier, and what's your proposal to tackle the housing crisis at Tower Hamlets?
So I think we need to challenge big developers much more strongly on what they are delivering. I think we should be raising our expectations and our legal obligation. We should be asking for at least 50% affordable homes to be built as part of any new development, and where there are a group of new developments in the same area, those developers need to be working together to make sure that the social and physical infrastructure required to build a community is there.
Are you proposing any number that we need to by 2020 or 2026 we need to build that many affordable houses for residents of Tower Hamlets? Are you offering any number?
No, we're not. I think, as Elaine pointed out, the demographics of Tower Hamlets are going to change enormously, and I think we need to be working out how we build good quality affordable housing and not just chasing a target, which means that 2/3 of the affordable homes built in this borough over the last 5 years are these 80% market rate. And if we just chase an arbitrary target, we'll end up building lots more of those and much fewer of those truly affordable, genuinely affordable houses. I think there's a lot more we could be doing to work with smaller developers who are building maybe 20 or 40 units at a time rather than waiting much longer for much larger developments. We should be looking at using more community land trusts, innovative ways of getting local communities to have a real stake and ownership in the land. And I think that we should be doing...
On your manifesto, you also mentioned about making more green spaces for local community. But if you need to build more houses, how do you balance these two things? Keeping all those green areas for the community, but you also want to build more. How do you balance it?
I think it is entirely possible to have green spaces as part of a development. You don't need to have a densely clustered development. You can have a multi-level development with roof gardens, with terraces. I think we don't need to always build up. I think we should be looking at how we build spaces you can move around. I think another thing we need to look at, there are over 1,000.
So you have plan in place to balance it.
But I think there are over 1,000 as well. So there are over 1,000 empty homes in Tower Hamlets, and we need to be doing much more to bring those back into use.
I think the problem with that is that Tower Hamlets is currently the second most dense local authority in the country. Islington's the most dense, and with the rate of house building, we will become the most dense. We're not going to have big parks. We're going to have small pocket parks, and my manifesto says we want to build some of those. But going back to the 50...
You mentioned about 10 pocket parks.
Yeah.
Do you have funding for that?
Yes, you can do that with developers. You can do that with identifying sites that are currently owned by the council. You can do that by saying that where a particular piece of land is coming up for development, a chunk of it will have to be open space.
Right.
But I was going to comment on the 50%. It's all very well people sitting here and saying we're going to demand 50%. The reality is that a developer will simply jump over your heads and appeal to a planning inquiry and will have 30%. So to get 50%, you need to have
But
funding.
have you tried? Have you
need to
ever
have, yes,
tried?
oh yeah, we have refused more planning applications than were ever refused under Ohid Ahmed or Rabina Khan or Lutfur Rahman. And on some occasions we got away with it. On other occasions, they have gone to the planning appeal and they have replaced our decision with one which is more favourable to them.
Right, John. Thank you, Mr. Oidam.
Thank you. I think there's some incorrect information that's going around in this.
Which one is incorrect information?
very
The
quickly,
30%, 50%. So you think the 50%
Well,
is possible?
just 50% is a target for me. I would be very happy if we can achieve 50% target. And I cannot remember in one cabinet meeting I attended and I did not argue for 50% affordable homes. It's not always possible. We are living in real world. It's not always possible. The developers are very, very smart people. You have to understand that game. As I said, you have to have a track record. You have to have experience to deliver this kind of things. When we were in power, you don't need to.
So you're saying that 50% is not possible?
Yeah.
Is
50% is possible. 100% is possible in the council land. And if I become a mayor, I'm just telling my viewers that I can achieve 100% affordable homes in council land in partnership with other people, because there are money available. There is some misconception going on that there isn't any money. In my budget, I actually showed to John Biggs where those money was coming from. If I want to build houses, I told him.
Thank you very much.
Can I just, as a point of clarification, and it's for the viewers as well.
Thank you.
The policy is 35% on-site housing, 50% if it's on off-site, because that's the premium that is added. Otherwise, the developer will generate income from themselves. An example of where you need to have tenacity in dealing with the developer is the News International site. When they first came to the council, I was the cabinet member, and what they wanted to do is only deliver 12% or 15%. That was moved up to 30%, and it included a secondary school. Another example is Bishopsgate. That was a disastrous application.
Can I just add something to the green space, Adnan Bhai? So where the council owns the land, you can have community land trust and actually with the community build that, borrowing against that. And that legislation, the Conservatives have made that much easier to do that. Secondly, with green spaces, we need to think outside the box. We can't. Tower Hamlets, whether we can all, say whatever we like here, but the fact of the matter, land is at a premium. We can have vertical walls. If you look at Singapore, if you look at Paddington, Pontoon Gardens, what we do have in Tower Hamlets, we're blessed with water. And this is where I do concur with Kieran, and he'll have a job in my mail, see if it is certainly. But you can build vertical gardens along the building walls, and also use the actual river to build pontoon gardens, which has been done in Paddington. And it's more expensive. We can work with
It's called Gardens in Cities.
Gardens
in Cities.
That's what it's being innovative. We need to move to our next topic, which is community safety crime. 2016 and 17, 7 murders in Tower Hamlets. 20% rise in sexual offences, 16% rise in gun crime, 8% rise in knife crime. We know that Tower Hamlets is very diverse. However, 59% increase in Islamophobic hate crime. So, if I may ask you, John Biggs, if you continue to become mayor of Tower Hamlets, how you will tackle this issue? Because all of you on your manifesto, you have identified that community safety crime is a big concern for the local community. So what are you going to do about it?
We're going to do quite a lot about it, and it's my first priority alongside the housing. So housing and community safety are the two absolute priorities for this administration. And on community safety, we need to challenge the cut in police officer numbers, which has gone down by 25% in Tower Hamlets, and that's catastrophic. We're spending local people's money to try to meet some of that shortfall. The amount of recorded crime in Tower Hamlets has been rising, but at a slower rate than other parts of London. But we do need to have a range of initiatives. As I said earlier, the drug-related crime issue is a big epidemic problem across London. Recently attended a summit with the Home Secretary and the Commissioner for Metropolitan Police and the Mayor of London to talk about this. And it is a big, big problem for the whole of London. So the idea that Tower Hamlets can solve it alone.
So more funding for police.
It does need more funding for police, but it needs us to do more joined up stuff as well. So it's about the youth service, it's about our ASB service, it's about diversionary activities for young people, it's about
bringing different organizations
together. It's about drug treatment programs. We have one of the biggest drug treatment programs in the country.
Thank you.
It's a range of things.
Thank you very much. Mr. Huo Pierre, community safety is a big concern you on your manifesto, you mentioned about no council tax at all. So how, you mentioned about there will be no increase of council tax, if I may correct my statement. You mentioned about no increase of council tax. So you need additional funding to tackle this crisis. How are you going to tackle this community safety concern, which is a big concern for any resident at Tower Hamlets?
We're going to make a big push in this borough to have a mass campaign for additional funding from this government. The government has taken away £60 million, and John's unfortunately passed through what the government have taken away in terms of cuts to services in this borough, and the government plan to take even more money away from this council over the course of the next 4 years. And
so you're advocating that next mayor
the next mayor must make a stand on making sure that we get that money back from the government. And people may say this is pie in the sky. I was an organiser of an anti-poll tax campaign in this borough under Margaret Thatcher. And people said we'd never get rid of the poll tax. We organised a mass non-payment campaign in this borough, and nationwide, that actually got rid of the poll tax. So I'm absolutely convinced that we could organise a mass campaign in this borough for the funding that this borough needs for its services.
Thank you.
And particularly, I would add, services for young people. John's right, actually, in many ways. It's not just youth services. The EMA that was cut meant that for
we'll talk about these are other issues.
I mean, there are so many issues that are welded together in this thing about community safety. It's not just police numbers; it's about other activities that particularly give young people a hope that they don't get involved in crime.
Right. Thank you very much.
We still have an EMA, by the way.
Right. Thank you very much. We'll talk more about this particular issue. We need to go for a quick break.
Could I just add something about the issue of Islamophobia? You did mention that.
Yes. We'll talk more about
just
this.
Really quickly, on the foster care case, which happened in August, it was a controversial case which the Times and the Mail inaccurately commented on and reported on. At the full council motion, across all political spectrums, we agreed a motion, but it was my group that requested, and I quote, to instruct the Chief Executive to report the Times and the Daily Mail to the IPSO. And today we have heard that there has been a correction and an apology.
Thank you very much. This is another sign, another example that the whole community, all politicians can come together for important issue. Thank you very much.
Although we had already complained.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll talk more in detail about this particular issue. We need to go for a quick break. Dear viewers, NTV Europe local election special debate. We need to go for a quick break. Once we come back, we'll talk more detail about manifesto and Tower Hamlets mayoral election. Please stay with us.